Hello everyone, my name is Financial Charles and today is October 2nd of 2023, and today the Bitcoin price is at about $27,800. In between yesterday's video and today, price has been fluctuating. The Bitcoin price rose significantly after I uploaded yesterday's video, and it even went all the way up to as much as $28,500 just today, and now we're establishing a red candle for today. And it's crazy how fast the sentiment can change. Yesterday I was talking about how I was expressing pretty bearish outlooks, but short-term, medium-term bearish, but long-term bullish as always. And it's just funny how as soon as it pumps up to over $28,000, I start to feel the FOMO, I start to feel the hopium, and same with, Bitcoin Reddit too. A lot of people are, very bullish now. I mean, they were already very bullish this whole time, but nowadays it's like, I'll show you this one right here. This is exactly how I'm feeling right now, and I could tell that this is how other Bitcoiners are feeling today as well. What people think when Bitcoin is going up, you think that, you'd be so happy that Bitcoin is going up, right? Like, especially if you're in my position, I just, lump sum $10,000 not too long ago at prices lower than this, right? We were making videos all throughout this little tiny correction here, talking about buying here, and I was talking about how I was upset that I bought this wick going up and then it went back down. But really, anytime buying, and this little wick up here, this was my $28,000 video that we made. But yeah, really, had you just been accumulating during this whole time, you would be up. And let's actually take a measurement and let's see how much it pumped. Boom, pumps all the way over 6%. So in theory, if we just want to talk about math, I know yesterday we were talking about leverage and interest rates and all that. If you were charged a 5% fee or something, a 5% fee to get money up front, take a loan, and you just have to pay 5%, and you bought down here, and now it's all the way up here. That is already a profit regardless of that 5% fee or 5% APY. That's already, that's how the math works. You just made more money than what you paid in interest/fees. So taking out that loan was a good idea overall. And to solidify that, you would have to sell it, obviously, and pay the debt off. I don't plan on doing that quite yet. I think Bitcoin has a long way to go in terms of upwards. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, with this type of volatility, maybe if you're right in the direction that Bitcoin is going, which we all think it's going up, it's okay to take out, leverage. It's okay to take out a loan, because the percentage fluctuations day by day can easily just pay for whatever your interest rate is. And I think that's what people don't understand. Leverage it's always been seen as risky by the sound investor. But the thing is, the sound investor has only had experience with investing in, S&P 500, their experience with getting 7% a year from index funds. Bitcoin wasn't even around until 2009 when it was first invented. It's only it's like, 13 years old now? And this is just the very beginning. Gold is over 6,000 years old, and it's been used by humanity for over 6,000 years to store value, and Bitcoin is only 13 years old, and it's very quickly going up. Bitcoin is very, very scarce, and, if we really zoom out, a lot of people were convinced that we might have seen these bottoms just because of what happened last cycle, where we established the $3,000 bottom, we pumped 4x, and then it crashes all the way down to near the bottom. It didn't quite set new lows, but it was near the bottom. We were at $3,000 range here, and then over during the COVID week it was $4,000. So I think on everyone being cautious, we're cautiously thinking that maybe later on, maybe early 2024, we might go down to some people think we're going to establish new lows. I never thought that. I always, as soon as we pumped up in the beginning of the year, I thought that, this was the bottom. And yeah, Bitcoin will just continue to appreciate. And I know that we were saying I hope it goes down so we can buy more, and maybe it will go down, maybe it will break these lows, but I saw a YouTube video yesterday making a very good point about how this little wick right here, this was due to Silicon Valley Bank going bankrupt. This was that wick downwards. That's bad news pushing down the price. This here, obviously we already know what this is. This is 3 Arrows Capital in Celsius. But even when FTX collapsed, and when FTX collapsed, yes, it dumped, but it didn't dump nearly as hard as it did in June. And if you were around to experience this move right here from 48,000 all the way to 17,000, this was probably the most painful thing I've ever experienced, really. Well, not ever, but painful investing thing that I've ever experienced. And even everyone on YouTube was bearish videos every single day, and just the emotion involved with this type of move was surreal to me. In terms of the emotions we're feeling right now, obviously the FOMO is really starting to dig into me. I told you guys that I took out leverage to buy Bitcoin not too long ago, and what my original plan was I assumed that this was going down, so I was going to, with the income coming in, I was going to split it between buying Bitcoin and then paying off the debt. But experiencing a pump like this makes me feel like I want to just lump sum every single dollar, and then, by the time the debt's due, just sell off some Bitcoin to pay off the debt. But the reason that's dangerous is because that's assuming that Bitcoin is going to be a higher price than it is today by the time the debt's due. And while that very, very well may be the case, it's never certain. In terms of being a sound, responsible investor. Being a sound, responsible investor probably wouldn't even take out leverage in the first place. But given this situation in which I do have debts from the leverage that I took out, the best thing to do is to pay it off, or dollar cost average the debt down, if that makes sense. Dollar cost average half of the check to Bitcoin, and the other just DCA into paying off the debt. But because of this pump, it really makes me want to just continue to lump sum every single check and just forget about the debt, which is not that's greed. All right, that's very much greed, and I have to learn to control the greed. The point of this video, yes, just document how I'm feeling about these markets going up and stuff. You would assume that we'd all be happy that the markets are going up $28,000, this, that, but it's all I feel is FOMO, and just all I feel is, man, I wish I bought more. It's a very interesting phenomenon, but that type of feeling, that type of emotion, if you act on that emotion, that's the type of thing that will liquidate you. That's the type of thing where you're going to take out too much leverage, and then the market's going to wick down and you get liquidated. Or that's the type of greed that has you, leveraging all the way up here, holding all the way down. I think the main message to take away from that little rant is just not to play into your emotions. Try to be as logical and rational as possible. Set up a plan and stick to that plan. Don't let your emotions take control of your investing strategy, because if I were to let my emotions take over my investing strategy right now, because of this little bump that we did, it makes me want to FOMO everything in and not pay my debts off. But I know that the sound thing to do is pay the debts off, so I will do that, But yeah, if we even zoom out, this pump, it's not even that much of a pump. Like, this is more of a pump than that. This This whole 2020 and 2021 bull market, this is completely nothing. If you zoom out over the long term. But obviously, we woke up today a couple hundred or $1,000 or $2,000 richer, but yeah, we just can't let that, play into our emotions. So yeah, I guess I just use this video as just a form of therapy, and to talk myself out of lump summing everything. I get another paycheck by the end of the week, and I will be sure to responsibly invest that. Hopefully, I don't know I don't know where Bitcoin's going to be at the end of the week, Might be higher, might be lower. But all I know is if it does pump up higher, let's just say, these are weekly candles. Each one of these candles represents 1 week. If we just say, like, if this goes up like that, I'm going to feel FOMO so bad. It's going to feel crazy. Hopefully it does not do that. I really just want it to, stay. I really want the Bitcoin price to stay down and stay in these ranges to give us more opportunity to accumulate. I do think, comparing this cycle to the previous cycles, I do think that it's still a bit too early to, be so bullish and think that it's only going up from here. Because if you look at, the first cycle, they spent a lot of time below here. If the all-time high was about $1,200, the midway point of that is $600. So this is already, they're halfway there. And they spent this whole time, this went from January to, January of 2015 to May of 2016. So that's over a year and a half of just, being below halfway. If we see what's halfway here, we could say just $30,000 because, 60,000, 30,000. But we barely spent any time down here. We barely spent any time. Like, this was already an established low, and then it took a year and a half to get to halfway. Here, it took, this was January 2019, let's say. And then, even March 2020, that's over a year. And we did have a lot of volatility going up, going back down. But they spent a lot of time, in the trenches, I guess you can say. I really don't think we spent too much time in the trenches yet. If we consider, the bottom to be November, we haven't even spent a year in the lower range yet. So I'm hoping that we get another 6 months of just chop. I don't want to see it go up anymore. I want to see it go down. And if you're not going to let me see it go down, then at least just give us some chop, and then have us take off in the, the second half of 2024 or something like that. And, let me show you. I'll just turn on some drawings real quick. I hate showing you guys these drawings because it's just so embarrassing. Like, my fucking lines are just nonsense lines, and they don't really mean anything. It's not based off of anything. But you can see that the pattern here is the all-time high gets hit, let's say December 2013, and exactly 3 years later, December of 2016, this is where it starts to approach the all-time highs again, exactly 3 years later. And then after you hit that point, it takes 1 year of just straight bull run to the top, and then, that's a 1 year move, and then it moves down for 1 year. This top was December 2017. 3 years later, in December of 2020, exactly 3 years later, that's when it met its all-time high again. And then it took 1 year again to reach the high from December 2020 to November 2021. That's, give or take 1 month, obviously, but that's exactly 1 year of, going up after the all-time high. And then it spends 1 year going down, exactly 1 year from November 2021 to November 2022. That's exactly 1 year down. So if we assume that Bitcoin will spend, 3 years to get back to its all-time high, we can assume that it might reach its all-time high again in the November/December of 2024. So it's going to be like the end of the year. So these lines that I drew, this is kind of just inspired by last cycle mixed with the cycle beforehand. This is kind of what I'm predicting based off of no evidence at all. This is not based off of any logical numbers. This is just based off of my emotions, I guess, which is very silly. But, I mean, if you compare it to the last cycles, it's not too far off. What I'm thinking is, we'll chop sideways, and perhaps we'll get a scare down to the 20,000s. But even then, I don't think that it's going to establish a new low. It did not establish a new low here, and it did not establish a new low here. So why would we expect it to establish a new low here? I mean, obviously, it could be different. Times can be different, but, this is predicting that we're going to get a scare, and then after that, it's just going to keep on it's going to recover, keep on chopping sideways, and really just take off. If past performance is any indication of future results, which it is not, we might be able to expect, Bitcoin to reach its all-time high once again in November of 2024, and then spend 1 year going up again. And then, so if it spends 1 year going up, we can expect it to peak out at October, November or December of 2025, which is up here, which is this blue scribbled market, and who knows, we might get front run and we might peak earlier than that, just like how this was kind of front run. If because Bitcoin topped out December here, we met the all-time high December here, but it topped out in November, so 1 month earlier. If we assume that the same thing will happen, maybe it'll top out October of 2025. All I know is if you plan on selling, don't plan on timing it. Just dollar cost average out. If we were to just zoom out and look, and I know that as a Bitcoin maxi, the idea is to never sell, because you wouldn't have to sell, because Bitcoin is the exit strategy. But if we were to just assume that you wanted to, it'd be a good move to dollar cost average in here in this range, dollar cost average out in this range, dollar cost average in at this range, dollar cost average out in this range. If we go back in time, you can say, dollar cost average here in this range, dollar cost average out in this range, So, and I think looking at the charts, I think that each cycle gets less and less, top-ish, I guess you can say. Like this was a extreme wick. The top was a wick and then just goes down, and especially the 2017, you could see that it was a quick wick, and it spent very little time at the $20,000 range. It was a quick wick and then a crash. The last cycle, that was an interesting cycle because it wasn't necessarily a peak top type thing. It was more of like a top range. You could consider this as like the top range. You had so much time to sell at over $60,000. If we assume that each top becomes more and more range-ish, maybe it might look something like this, and that's why I drew it the way I did. It was like perhaps that this is our chance to DCA in at this range and DCA out at this range. And that's assuming that you want to sell your Bitcoin for US dollars. But obviously, I think yesterday's video, we kind of proved the point where you don't want to really sell your dollars, because what you're doing is you're getting rid of you're trading the hardest asset in human history in exchange for some garbage, fiat that will always devalue over time. So yeah, that's where I stand pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say for this video. Not too much planning going on for this video, but yeah, I will just continue to make more videos as the cycle continues on. A lot of people are saying that we were already in the bull run, and technically, if you consider this the bottom, then yes, we're in a bull run, and this was just a slight correction. But yeah, we'll have to see where we end up over the next year or so. I think the next 12 months is going to be super duper exciting. The halving is coming up in 8 months. I just can't wait. I think if there's any time to leverage, according to history, like now's the time. Like this range right here is the time. This range right here, that's the time. Perhaps that this is our time right here. Here I am stressing about over, should I leverage or should I pay off my debt? In reality, it might not matter. This is some just noise, some little noise, but the big moves, they're about to come. I think this was a huge move already here. We doubled our money from investing down here and waiting up here. That's a double. So I can't wait to see what comes after this. So yeah, just a quick little simple video, not too much planning going on in this. I just wanted to express my emotions, how I feel about the market, especially after a pump up to $28,500. I just think the volatility in this market certainly will play with your emotions and make you do things that aren't very sound. Like, can you imagine I leveraged $10,000 at the very peak, or I took out $10,000, I borrowed $10,000 and I bought the peak. Like, that's what this type of market will do to you if you follow your emotions. So just do not follow your emotions. I don't care how many people are bullish on Reddit or on YouTube. If everyone is bullish, go on the other side of the ship. You know, if the Titanic, or if everyone is on one side of the ship, go to the other side of the ship. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. And don't leverage if you're going to be emotional about your investing. Dollar cost average is the best strategy. Don't invest more than you're willing to lose. But yeah, I guess that's all I had to say. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Thank you so much.